This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you might have missed this morning, and we take a look at the political pieces we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 9th of September 2020, and I am DM.
I am Tuum.
I am JM. In case you missed the headlines this morning, here they are. In the Daily Nation, shock. Kenya took 4.5 billion shilling loan every day. In the Standard, playing with fire. And in the Star, Raila to RUTO, don't take Kenyans to war. Let's begin with the sensationalist headline of the Daily Nation.
Yes, the editors of the Daily Nation have been doing some household economics. They have told us that Kenya has incurred a debt profile of 410 billion shillings in 3 months.
Yeah.
And how they got this figure is, we said before COVID, we had a debt profile, a public debt profile of 6.2 trillion shillings. And now we have a debt profile of 6.6 million shillings. So some very clever guy at Nation went and decided to tell us that Kenya went to borrow $4 billion within 3 months. So they said $4 billion, 400 million shillings in 3 months is 136 billion shillings a month, which translates to 4.5 billion shillings a day. Now, let me tell these lazy fellows this. You see, any country that absorbs that amount of money, $4 billion, even in one financial year, financial markets are going to know about it. All right. The only amount that we know that we got from the World Bank and IMF during this period is $1 billion, which is a contingency fund that we got just in case we had an economic shock. Now, second thing I also want to say is this headline, in my view, was sponsored. And it was sponsored because the hit is very well on RUTO and Sudi and all those other guys who like to insult people's mothers.
So it's a deflection.
It's a deflection. It's a decoy. But
therefore, it has been purchased.
It has been purchased. It has been purchased, and one of us said it must be reporting to Karen. Must be reporting to Karen.
Wow.
I see. Any comments, DM?
I have nothing useful to add.
Nothing useful to add either. I think we tossed that right off the bat. Let's move to the Standard.
In the Standard,
with fire.
Playing with fire. So they're telling us 2 or 3 things. One, that the MP Joanna Ngeno, has been in a lot of trouble lately, made unsavory remarks about the president and his family, and as a result, he has been disowned by his party, KANU. And then Raila Odinga thereafter castigated leaders, including Joanna Ngeno, Oscar Sudi also was another potty mouth, for using inflammatory language. And he said that these guys are beating the drums of war by antagonizing each other. And he said that that they should be careful to not lead us down the path of conflict and violence, the kinds that we experienced in 1997, 2007, 92. And then also the Suna East MP Junet Mohammed declared that these 2 guys, Oscar Sudi and Joanna Ngeno, are speaking on behalf of the deputy president. And he said this because the deputy president also castigated these leaders that are going around insulting people. But Junet Mohammed said that he's not being sincere, since he's the one that sent them in the first place. What I have to say about this is, there's some things that should be left secret. There should things like family, children, wives, husbands, and such like things. Because these people do not stand, the family members do not stand for election. They do not stand to be leaders. They do not decide that they're going to expose themselves for criticism or for scrutiny. It is the politicians themselves that did that. So they are fair game. Family should not be fair game, in my view. So I think we are doing scum of the earth politics.
Absolutely. And just to wrap it up, the Star says pretty much the same thing, that Raila, together with other leaders, Musalia Mudavadi, Kalonzo Musyoka, condemning the drums of war by RUTO allies. And the interesting thing here is that these politicians are not wasting a crisis. They have seen that RUTO has made a mistake, and they're going to capitalize on it. They're going to punish him for it.
Absolutely.
And that's precisely what is happening this week. And RUTO, unfortunately, or fortunately, has taken the bait.
Yes.
But he has also been clever enough to, at least in this instance, distance himself as much as possible, which is a signal that these guys are crossing the line.
But Raila's not letting him go off that easy.
JM, Ruto on Sunday, he started this narrative. And I keep telling you guys, this is not something that happened by accident. There's a hypothesis here. William Ruto started this by saying, anyone, it doesn't matter who your father is, anyone can be president of this country. And then thereafter, the insults began. And they began, he used his firebrand politicians to do this. And let me tell you, it is not about to end. What this man wants to do is to force Uhuru Kenyatta into the negotiating table by probably stoking some violence. And the precursor to violence is the war of words that he's trying to use. Yes.
So whom do we award the winning headline? We have a 3-part criteria that we use to assess them. Are they topical, speculative, repetitive, or groundbreaking, family, thoughtful, or just plain lazy?
I quite like the standard.
I like playing with fire.
Yes, playing with fire. So we could toss the star and give the winning headline to the standard. And all the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country, we have a 3-part criteria that we use to assess them. Are they humorous or dry, satirical or pessimistic, ineffective or just plain lazy? In the Daily Nation,
you have Ndula there and caricature of Jesus. That's a caricature of Uhuru Kenyatta and caricature of William Ruto, and they have dogs. And part of the dogs include, for William Ruto, that is Murkomen, Sudi, and Muhammad Ali. And the Uhuru Kenyatta dogs is Francis Atwoli, who is standing. The other one is David Murathe. The other one is Raila Odinga. And down there is, I think, looks like tobacco in my view. And it's like they're all barking. Off, off.
Yes. Very small barks.
What do you think Atwoli is barking?
And these are not barks of grown dogs, huh? Those are puppies. That's what I think Ndula is trying to tell us.
Quite a funny one. In the Standard.
In the Standard, we have Trump in his office being told that there's a delegation of Africans present who have come into the United States to monitor the US elections due to claims of rigging, protests, shootings, bomb threats, violence. And so they have come to do what America goes into the rest of the world to do during election times.
Absolutely.
I really like it when Gado turns the tables on these guys.
Very, very, very good. And in the Star, here we have caricatures. We have a racetrack with 4 lanes. Oscar Sudi in a yellow outfit is the main protagonist. He's about to finish the race. In second place, I'm assuming Nyeno went before him. But he's yet to cross the finish line. And the red tape characterized as respect has been brought forward. And the caption reads, "What red line?" suggesting that he has crossed that red line and he doesn't care. Now, I think what Ozone should have added here is kaende.
Why?
Come on, by. Things are already
hot.
They have deteriorated.
Yeah, they're hot, and I think somebody like Sudi is now, even today, he said, I'm not apologizing.
Very defiant. This whole week I've been saying that our leadership is degenerating. But increasingly, it seems to me that it is us Kenyans who are enablers of this abusive political environment that we're in. Because, as I was saying before, nothing is sacred before. So someone can casually mention the anatomy of somebody else's mother to prove a political point. And the problem is, I think, at least this is what I think, is that the line between politics and entertainment has been blurred. It's gone. And politicians know this. That's why they capitalize on it. And now they're operating as performers, not leaders. So you'll find Oscar Sudi is operating like an acrobat. You find Babu Awino is a clown. Joanna Ngeno is a vigorous dancer. They're just a troupe of performance. And they're traveling circus, in fact. So if you as an example, if you saw or listened to Sonko for the very first time, would you think he's the governor of the wealthiest and biggest city in the country? No, you'd think he's the leader of Kofi Olomide's Lingala backup dancers. That's what you would think, because he's just not serious. But we Kenyans, we eat it up and we encourage it. The more abusive a politician is, the more popular he is, the more vulgar he is, the more votes they'll get. So in the end, we only have ourselves to blame when we degenerate into a chaotic political nation where no single leader can serve us, and we'll be on our own because we have chosen to be led by a pack of savages. And the saddest thing about it is that Kenyans are amongst the smartest people in the world. Is that not true? We can engage in discourse, we can debate issues, we can deconstruct arguments, but when it comes to such important life or death situations like politics, leadership, and governance, we choose to be a bunch of hooligans.
It's called the hustler nation.
You know what will happen soon enough? Maybe in about 10 years, we will take back control of politicians. The civil service will put politicians on a leach. So that's the way it's supposed to be.
Or the military, as you guys like to say.
Or the military.
Yes.
Or the military.
Yes.
Or the military.
The day is coming. So whom do we award a winning cartoon?
I don't know. I like this one for
the dogs.
No. The dogs is. I like Morave.
I do like the dogs, but I also like Gado's cartoon.
Yeah.
As usual, Gado has depth and analysis.
Oh, absolutely.
I think we'll give it to Gado. So the standard gives us our winning cartoon. And now on to our final thought. But before we get there, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. So what is our final thought?
And now our final thought. It is inspired by a book entitled King Leopold's Ghost, a story of greed, terror, and heroism in colonial Africa by Adam Hochschild.
Yes, and he wrote this book in 1998, and it's the devastating story of how one man, Leopold, the king of the Belgians, converted a territory comprising of 1/13 of the whole continent of Africa into his own personal fiefdom. So Leopold committed many atrocities, chief of which was enslaving millions of Africans and forcing them to harvest ivory and rubber. An estimated 10 million Africans died when Leopold was the sovereign king of the Congo, as he was called then.
My goodness.
At that time, he used slave labor, as I had mentioned, and he amassed $1 billion in the money of this time. So you can imagine how much he accumulated back then. So as a disclaimer, for those who are going to look for the book and read it, you are going to find a lot of graphic descriptions of extreme violence and brutality. So it's a very heavy book to read, but it is the historical truth and it must be told. So ironically, King Leopold used humanitarianism to mask his true motivation for his presence in the Congo or for colonizing the Congo. In fact, in 1891, he told the Belgian parliament that, and I quote, "The Congo state is certainly not a business. Any forced labor that Africans were made to do served to rescue the savages," that is the Africans, "from their own laziness."
My goodness.
Jeez.
So does that set the stage for the mood of the book?
Let me tell you,
it does.
This book is not very good. Now, there is a chapter that I like. It's called The Magnificent Cake. And this is how I captured it. And I called it the Leopold success. I said Leopold's success would have been short-lived if 4 Africans let 115 white people starve to death. Here is why. On August 5th, 1877, and now after sunset, 4 black men walk out of a bush in a place called Boma. They had come from a village and had walked for 2 days and were carrying a letter addressed. This is what the letter said: "To any gentleman who speaks English at Mboma. Dear sir, I have arrived at this place from Zanzibar with 115 souls, men, women, and children. We are now in a state of imminent starvation. But if your supplies arrive in time, I may able to reach Mboma within 4 days. Better than all would be 10 or 15 manloads of rice or grain. The supplies must arrive within 2 days, or I may have a fearful time of it among the dying. Yours sincerely, H.M. Stanley, commanding Anglo-American Expedition for Exploration of Africa." Now, for those that do not know, H.M. Stanley was King Leopold's man in Africa. He's a man that made all the incursions into the Congo. Now, the question is, why didn't these 4 Africans just let these 4 starve to death? Because from then on, the Portuguese who were actually at this place called Mboma sent all manner of foods to H.M. Stanley and his 115 people who had actually come all the way from Zanzibar. Now, by the time H.M. Stanley was done, he had conquered the entire Congo basin and the entire Congo River basin. and he had claimed the territory of 450 basin chiefs. Now, if these 4 Africans had had let these 110 white people die, do you think King Leopold would have had the kind of foothold he had in the Congo?
Maybe or maybe not, because Stanley is just somebody that he found to go and look for a colony for him. In fact, the book says Leopold was looking for a colony in Africa.
Yes.
And Morgan Stanley is the one, Morton Stanley rather, is the one who did that incursion that you're talking about, and then found this lush jungle rich with minerals and rivers for him. So if it wasn't Stanley, it would have been
someone else would have done it.
And so in the 1890s, they found a new resource in DRC, and this was rubber. And the extraction of rubber, we're told in this book, led to a grisly new chapter for the Congo slave colony. And here's how it played out. This part of the story begins with John Dunlop, who was doing chores one morning in Belfast, Ireland in about 1890, and while tinkering with his son's tricycle, happened to invent a device that would lead to new industries and suffering, and that was the inflatable rubber tire. So at that point, vast quantities of rubber for tires, for tubing, for hoses, and telephone insulation were demanded from the industrial world. And that boom, we're told, then had a drastic impact on the lives of the Congolese. And so began a grisly new chapter in the colony. The European agents supplying rubber to the Congo Free State were rewarded according to the money that they brought in. So they set up an incentive system where you had these agents from Belgium and all over Europe who would be, rewarded handsomely depending on how much rubber they could bring in. And so, a few agents here and there got rich, but ultimately most of that money made its way back to Leopold. And so we're told that between the years 1890 and 1904, total Congo rubber earnings increased 96 times over. Profits were maximized because harvesting wild rubber required no cultivation, no fertilizer, no capital investment in any expensive equipment. It required only labor. But this was a problem for the rulers of Congo. They couldn't chain people together and force them to work as they had done so with porters and construction workers and so on. So gathering wild rubber required long treks through the rainforest, milking vines often hundreds of feet off the ground in the canopy in the rainforest, and collecting that sap in a bucket. That's how the sap is harvested. And so what they did is to compel them, they began to kidnap village women, children, or elders, and holding them hostage until the chief of the district had brought enough of the required amount that he was supposed to bring to meet his quota. Only then would his family members be released back to him. And we're told, if a man resisted, his wife could have been killed, his children could have been killed. If his rubber haul was a few grams off the required total, he or his family members faced a lashing with a heavy leather whip.
The chicote.
Yeah, absolutely, the chicote. And so in 1906, the books for one rubber trading company, for example, alone, had listed up to about 47,000 rubber gatherers. Can you imagine? 47,000 laborers they had in their employment. So this really a form of coercion, using strong arm tactics, and leading a lot of people into death and misery. Unfortunately, it's a very sad story.
It is, and the book itself also has pictures in it, very horrific pictures, because the other thing that they used to do that Leopold's people did to compel the Africans to work was to chop off parts of their bodies as punishment, arms or legs, even for children.
And so there was a lot of people in those generations who grew up without limbs because of disobedience to the master. it's really a shame. It's very sad. So on a day where we had a winning headline from, I believe it was
The
the
Standard.
Standard, and a winning cartoon from the Standard as well, I want to leave you with this quote in regard to all the political mumbo-jumbo drama we've been having this week. From Abraham Lincoln, who said, "A nation that does not honor its heroes will not long endure." Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are also on your TV screens. Find us on Pang Free to Air, Go TV, and Star Times. Have a good evening.